Right. So before this rules-based international order was the bipolar world, right? The Cold War between the Soviet Union and America. And when the Soviet Union collapsed, America could reimagine a world in whatever way it wanted. And so George H.W. Bush famously coined the phrase New World Order, right? And the New World Order just meant the rules-based international order where the United States would be the hegemon. It would be the enforcement, but it would also respect the United Nations, the WTO, these multilateral organizations that would underpin the New World Order. And that worked spectacularly well for the longest time. But the problem, of course, is that when you are the hegemon, it's hard not to be corrupt. It's hard not to develop hubris. And that's what led us to these Middle East wars, where America, for no particular reason, destroyed Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, and Syria. People don't remember this, but in the 1980s, Libya, Syria, and Iraq were not Islamic countries. These were vibrant middle-class societies that was well-educated and which was prosperous. And now, if you go to Libya, Syria, and Iraq, they're completely destroyed. And these millions of refugees are forced to seek shelter in Europe, which is also causing a lot of problems as well. So the wars in the Middle East were just war crimes. And then, of course, the other big thing, of course, was the 2008 great financial crisis, when America ceased being a manufacturing power and just focused on financialization. So it's taking all these wealth from the world and developing these risky financial assets for people to gamble with, derivatives, right? And that ultimately led to the subprime crisis and the collapse of the global economy. And if it weren't really for the Chinese, the global economy would have collapsed, right? Because remember, it was the Chinese who saved the world by focusing on building infrastructure. And so, but you know, the big thing is that 2008, 2009, nothing changed, right? No one went to jail for swindling the American public. Most Americans lost their homes, but it didn't really matter because they were poor. You know, Obama came into office in 2008 with the slogan, hope and change. And at that point, he had a choice. You could either bail out homeowners, right, the majority of the American public, and most of these people were actually Black, African-American, right? Or you could bail out the banks who were responsible for the collapse. And what experts were saying, like, you cannot bail out the banks because it would create moral hazard. They would just keep on doing this over and over again. And of course, Obama bailed out the banks because his entire team were these Wall Street people and people like Tim Geithner and Larry Summers. And so so Wall Street was bailed out. And then journalists asked, you know, the Obama administration, why didn't you bail out the American public? If you bail out the Wall Street, you can also bail out the American public, right? Why not just, you know, forgive their mortgages? These are just average, hardworking Americans. They need a place to live, man. And do you know what the response was from the Obama administration? Moral hazard, okay? Moral hazard. We didn't want to create a condition where poor people became too lazy and too complacent, right? We want to teach them a lesson. So that's the world we live in today, where America is not democracy anymore. It's an oligarchy. And that's what led to the rise of Donald Trump, because Donald Trump basically said that I'm going to collapse this system. I'm going to destroy the oligarchy and represent America first, right? We're going to kick out the immigrants so that average Americans can have access to like good jobs. We're going to destroy this rules-based international order where everyone cheats us, right? Especially the Chinese. They steal from us. They take our technology. We Americans are too trusting, too generous. And that's a message that really resonated with the American public in 2016. And honestly, it still resonates today.
Wow. You know, one would think with an intuition that during unipolarity, it would have been so easy to transnationalize any particular narrative, right? With an intuition, to the extent that we believe that unipolarity is going to shift over to multipolarity, do you think it's going to be as easy or more difficult to transnationalize any particular narrative?
Look, what I think is happening in the world right now is not necessarily like a global conflict between different nation states. It's more civil war within these different nation states. Okay, so if that makes sense. So let's look at the United States. Does Trump really care about Venezuela? Does he really care about Iran? Does he really care about these places? I don't think he does. He's never been in these places. You know, he's a transactional individual. What he cares about, first and foremost, is getting revenge for what happened in 2020. In Trump's mind, he had one election in 2020, fair and square, but the elite, the Democrats, cheated him, okay? $6 billion were spent on that election by the Democrats against Trump. There's still something called the blue tide, okay? So what happened was that a few days before the election, Bernie Sanders went on the Jimmy Kimmel show. And you guys, you can just Google this, okay? It's online. Yeah. Bernie Sanders was on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and he said this. Okay, here's what's going to happen in November. The first night, it will seem as though Trump had won. Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan will go Trump's way. I'm telling you right now, do not panic. Stay calm. Why? Because there are these mail-in ballots, and there are millions of them, but they will take time to come in. And in 2 weeks' time, I guarantee you there'll be a blue wave, and it will overturn the results in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. That's what he said. Again, you can Google this. It's online. It's still there, okay, on YouTube. How did he know this? How could he possibly have known this? And why would he go on Jimmy Kimmel and tell the world this, right? So I mean, like, it was suspicious what happened, right? But so I'm not saying that the election was stolen. Like I don't want to get you sued, okay? But in Trump's mind, it was stolen. But not only that, right? What happened after the election, of course, was January 6th. And we have a lot of evidence, and Tucker Carlson has reported this very well, that was staged, that there was deep state involvement in orchestrating these riots, and they called it a sedition afterwards. And the entire point of that was, of course, to make Trump ineligible for re-election ever again, okay? They wanted to eliminate the threat of Trump. And then what happened afterwards, of course, is when Trump was out of office, they had the Mar-a-Lago raids where they tried to put him in prison. There was all these lawsuits against Trump, and he lost billions of dollars in these lawsuits. There was attacks against his family business. I mean, they really tried to destroy him. And so that forced Trump back into the political arena, and he won in 2024. I guarantee you, like after what happened in 2020, his entire concern, his entire administration is getting back at the Democrats for what happened, destroying the deep state, okay? Now, you can't take on the deep state directly. That's not how Washington, D.C. works. But you take the deep state, you attack the deep state in the margins, okay? And what are the margins? Well, Venezuela is a margin, right? So, last August, he started to deploy the American Navy to the Caribbean. And he said that, I'm doing this to stop narco trafficking, okay? And everyone's like, no, that's complete nonsense. Why are you doing this? Okay, but let's take him at his word. Why would he do that? And the answer is the CIA, the deep state, a lot of the financing actually comes from narco trafficking. The CIA is notorious for being the world's greatest drug trafficker. Okay, so go back to the Iran-Contra scandal, right? Also, remember, Afghanistan. Before the Americans, the Taliban already wiped out the opium trade in Afghanistan. The Americans go back in, and what's happening? American soldiers are protecting poppy fields. And where's this opium going? Yeah. It's going to the Sacker family in the United States so that they can produce an opiate crisis in the United States, which kills thousands of average Americans, and so you can make a legitimate case that Trump really wanted to go after narco trafficking because he knew that was a major source of illicit funds for the deep state. And so he wanted to undermine the deep state. You have Trump now building up his, basically secret police, the ICE, right? So I think it's better to view the world as an expression of the civil war going on in the United States rather than really a war among nations.
Can I take it that you still believe that the elite class is still going to be able to continue ruling the world? And if that's the premise, then the world is really not going to shift over from unipolarity to multipolarity, because the same group of people all over the world are just going to be running around and telling everybody what to do. Is that the right way of thinking, or?
Right. So in theory, that's true. Okay. But there's a caveat. And the caveat is this. And Peter Turchin talks about this in his work. He has a theory called elite overproduction. So the elite will always rule over us. But the problem is like they have too many kids and they want all to rule. And so it's a zero-sum game, right? And so what we're seeing right now in America and possibly around the world is a battle between different elites who want to impose their own reality on the world. Okay, so to put it very simply, in America right now, you have two major elites. The first elite is the traditional transnational capital elite, Wall Street, City of London, Dubai, Hong Kong, right? They've been in power for the longest time. They were in power during the Clinton years and during the Obama years, right? So that's the financial elite. And now you have a new power that's arising that wants to challenge and overthrow them. And it's really the technological elite, Silicon Valley. And what they want to do is replace the US dollar system with the AI system, right? And that's why, okay, so let's put this concretely. Let's go to 2008, where Obama bailed out the Wall Street, right? And that shows you that the transnational capital elite is transcendent because they're able to control the levers of government. They're able to direct government policy. You fast forward to today, what's happening where these AI companies, NVIDIA, OpenAI, and Microsoft, they're building these data centers all around America. Now, we all know these data centers don't make money. We also know that it's an AI bubble, but they don't care because they know that if this bubble bursts, the American government, Trump, will bail them out because they control the levers of government, just as the financial elite controlled the levers of government in 2008 and 2009.